Today we're going to take a look at multiplying and dividing integers. The good thing about multiplying and dividing integers is in some ways it's a lot easier than the adding and subtracting integers. The reason being is because we're pretty much going to follow this rule that if they have the same sign, so if I have a positive times a positive, or a negative times a negative, or a positive divided by a positive, or a negative divided by a negative, my answer is always going to be a positive number. So basically, I just multiply or divide like normal, and then just know my answer will always end up being positive. So what that means is that if I have negative 6 times negative 3, 6 times 3 is 18. Since I've got a negative times a negative times a negative is a positive, so hence my answer is going to be positive 18. So basically I multiply, divide just like normal with the addition of the sign. If I have different signs, so if I have one negative times a positive, or a positive times a negative, or if I have a negative divided by a positive, or if I have a positive divided by a negative. In this situation, when I have different signs, my answer is always going to be a negative answer. So for example, if I have negative 32 divided by negative 8, also could be written as negative 32 divided by negative 8. My answer is going to be given by 32 divided by 8, which is 4. And I'm going to erase one of these negatives. Let's do negative 32 divided by 8. Negative 32 divided by 8. 32 divided by 8 is 4. And since I have one negative, okay, my answer will end up being negative. If it was negative 32 divided by negative 8, my answer would then be a positive 4. A couple other little additions to this rule. What happens when I have three negative numbers being multiplied together? So for example, negative 2 times negative 3 times negative 4. Well, I'm still going to just do 2 times 3, give me 6, times 4, which is 24. But is my answer going to be positive or negative? Well, if I think about taking these two negative signs, they'll become a positive, so then I have a positive times a negative, which ends up giving me a negative. So basically, kind of just to summarize sort of this rule, if I have an even amount of negatives, my answer is going to be positive because it's divisible by 2. So it'll be kind of follow this rule of negative times a negative gives me a positive, okay? And they'll cancel out. But if I have an odd number of negatives, my answer is going to be negative, which I see in the case of up here. One other just little detail to try and help with this, division can be written as a fraction. So for example, if I want to say negative 8 divided by 2, this is another way of writing it to get negative 4. When I'm writing this, particularly with one negative sign, I can write as negative 8 over 2, so the opposite of 8 over 2, where I say 8 divided by 2 is 4, and then the negative sign's out front. I can also write it as negative 8 divided by 2, which would still give me negative 4, or I can write it as 8 over negative 2. So I have three places where I can put the negative sign. I can put it out front, I can put it with the numerator, or I can put it with the denominator. If I had negative 8 divided by negative 2, if I wanted to put it both places, it'd be negative 8 divided by negative 2 would actually end up giving me a positive 4. So just an interesting little detail. So basically, just to summarize the rules, if I have two negatives, they cancel. A negative times a negative is a positive. If it's just one negative, my answer is going to be negative. And then the positive numbers are like you've been doing since 3rd grade, where the answer is going to end up being a positive. So hopefully this has been a helpful review, and good luck.